Happy Tuesday to you.
Good morning.
All right, it's just a little bit after the 10 a.m. hour. We are gathered here in the Assembly Hall at 901 Main Street in the heart of Old Town Conyers. And today is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. And I do know that we have a good number of people over in the overflow in the auditorium next door who are watching, listening, and viewing, as well as a good number of folks who are streaming and watching live on Facebook and Zooming in. Good morning to everyone. We're calling our meeting to order this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so the first order of business, Executive Director Millage.
So, Mr. Chairman, we will have the proposed 2024 millage rate presentation by our CFO. And then we will follow the presentation with public comment.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairman Nesbitt. Good morning, Commissioner Williams. Good morning, Commissioner Washington.
Good morning.
We would like to begin this presentation with a brief video that explains the proposed 2024 millage rate.
Okay.
What is the millage rate? Well, simply put, it is what you owe in taxes on your property. Each mill represents $1 of $1,000 in property value. Now, although the county would be keeping the same millage rate from last year, the state still views it as a tax increase because property values are going up, which is good news for residents who plan on selling their property in the near future since the property value and home equity have increased. To help lower your tax bill, the homestead exemption and the homestead option sale tax, also known as HOST, can be applied to that amount. So, for instance, if your house is valued at $100,000, you would owe approximately $747.60 in taxes. But with both the homestead and HOST exemptions applied, you only owe an estimated $225.31. Similarly, if your house is valued at $350,000, you would owe approximately $2,616.60. After applying both the homestead and HOST exemptions, you would only owe an estimated $1,126.54. So where exactly do these tax dollars go?
For every dollar paid on your property tax bill on a homesteaded property, which also receives the host exemption in Rockdale County, the county receives approximately 18% or 18 cents that go toward county maintenance and operation. Let me repeat that. The county receives approximately 18% or 18 cents for maintenance and operation. 4% or 4 cents goes toward the stormwater maintenance fee. The remaining 78% or 78 cents goes toward the school system, which sets its own millage rate. The 18 cents from each dollar funds public safety, general government, court services, recreation, and transportation, which are all included in the general fund. We want to hear from you, so be sure to come out to one of the 3 public millage rate hearings. The first one will be held on Tuesday, July 23rd at 10 a.m. in the Assembly Hall located at 901 Main Street. The second one will take place on Tuesday, July 23rd at 6 p.m. in the Assembly Hall located at 901 Main Street. And the last public hearing will take place on Tuesday, July 30th at 10 a.m. in the Assembly Hall located at 901 Main Street. Following the public hearings, the Board of Commissioners will hold a called meeting to set the millage rate on Tuesday, August 6th at 10 a.m. in the Assembly Hall located at 901 Main Street. We certainly hope this helps you understand the millage rate better, and we are looking forward to seeing you at the upcoming public hearings. Thank you.
And thank you to Public Relations for working with the Department of Finance to put that video together. Now I would like to begin and take a moment to go over a presentation that echoes what we saw in the video and gives a little more detail. So what we are here to discuss today is a presentation of the proposed millage rate for the 2024 tax year. Next slide, please. On this slide, you will see the FY 2024 general budget summary, and this is for the general fund. The funding in the general fund, 42% is allocated to public safety, 38% is allocated to general government, 10% to court services, and 5% to parks and recreation, as well as transportation. Next slide, please. On this slide, we see a tax digest history spanning back from 2013 to 2024. And as you can see, property value has increased, and that is a sign of and trend of the times. Next slide, please. This slide has our millage rate history, again, starting in 2013, spanning to 2024. As you can see, in 2013, the millage rate was 20.7. We are still below that mark, and we are here in 2024. The proposed millage rate is for 18.69, which will be the third year in a row for that proposed millage rate. Next slide, please. This slide represents the overall tax allocation, which includes the stormwater fee that you will see on your property tax bill. Of that, and it was expressed in the video as well, for each dollar on your tax bill, 78% goes to school M&O, which is maintenance and operations, 18% goes to county M&O, maintenance and operations, and 4% is set aside for a stormwater fee. Now, this is on all 2023 or 2024 homesteaded properties that also receive the host exemption. Next slide, please. Here's a property tax calculation. This sample is an estimated property tax calculation using the 18.69 mils. What we see here is at a property valued at $100,000 in 2024, property taxes without a homestead exemption or host exemption would be an estimated $747.60. Once you take into account the homestead exemption and the host exemption, you're looking at a property tax estimated bill of $225.31. As you can see, with the homestead and the host, you receive a very substantial discount. The next example is on a home or a property valued at $350,000. Again, the taxes that would be charged to this home if it did not have the exemption, the host or the homestead, would be $2,616.60. Once you put into place the homestead exemption and the host exemption, you have an estimated tax bill of $1,126.54. Next slide, please. With this proposed millage rate, and again, I want to reiterate that it is the same millage rate from 2023. The breakdown to give us our 2024 revenues in the amount of $120,246,555 come from two sources. One source is property taxes, which is $85,267,490, and then non-property taxes, which is $34,979,065. Some examples of non-property taxes are sales taxes, charges for services, fines and forfeitures, and investment income. Next slide, please. Here's a timeline of our public hearings for the millage rate. As you can see, we're here this morning, gathered at 10 a.m., and this is our first public hearing. We'll be here again this evening at 6 p.m. The next one will be on July 30th at 10 a.m., and the setting of the millage rate will be on August 6, 2024. And all of those public hearings will be held here at 901 Main Street in Conyers. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CFO. I think now we'll move into public comment.
Yes, so let me just make a little bit of an announcement this morning. So this morning we'll have public comment, 3 minutes per speaker, but the topic needs to be relevant to the millage rate. And so with that, we will set the timer, and I believe you had 2 or 3 cards turned in. If anybody else wants to speak this morning, have you turned in a card? Okay. Then that's it, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
let's just have one so far, Mr. George Kelachak. Come on up, Mr. Kelachak.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, citizens of Rockdale County.
Morning.
July 2nd, 214 delinquent tax folks went in front of the courthouse steps. That's the highest in the county, history of the county. 17 foreclosures. I'm just giving you some reality here. Secondly, 33% of working Americans have to side hustle today just to afford essential living costs. And I'm going to give you this data in print for you to read. Ex-Home Depot Commissioner or CEO Bob Mardelli issued a dire economic warning last week. National debt surpasses $34.9 trillion, the first time in the history of the United States. Mass layoffs hit multiple industries in metro Atlanta. 1.4 million Georgians now need 3.5 full-time jobs at the current minimum wage rate to live in metro Atlanta. Social Security checks are going to go up about 2.6%. That's the lowest in 5 years. 58% of your homes are owned, so they receive homestead exemption. Repossessions of vehicles, 23% due to high interest rates versus 2023. Average payment $762 at 70 months. By 2025, it's going to be 1.7 million repossessions. Between 2026 and 2029, estimates are at 1.8 million. You can look at it. Senior citizens can't afford these taxes that are upon us. So I bring a couple of solutions. About a year and a half ago, you adopted the Enterprise Lease Management Program, which I understand is working well and should save this county about $1 million in 7 years. Secondly, Ms. Sanders was gracious enough to install detection devices on all county vehicles. I would ask you to look at extensive idling. If you look at 3 vehicles, Ford F-150s, which I know we're reducing, in a 1-year period at $3.50 a gallon, that's $92,000 a year. In 30 years, if we shut these vehicles off when we're not using them, I know it's hot outside, but I turn my car off every time I stop somewhere if I have to. That's $2.7 million in savings. So let us look at some cost-saving items. This information is being shared with the city and the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelachak, and thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. All right, that was the only public comment card we had this
Yes,
morning
that's
for
correct.
the millage rate.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll move now right on into board comment, and I'll start with Commissioner Washington.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so my board comment is that, you know, I just came off of a very intense re-election cycle. And one of the things that I heard over and over and over and over again while I'm out, not just on the phones, which I'm talking to people over and over again there, but knocking on doors. People aren't asking for tax relief because they are in dire straits. What they're saying is that when they moved here, the people that moved here 20 years ago, when they bought a $400,000, I'm just going to say $350,000 house, Now they're being taxed at almost $1 million. Those are the taxes that they have not gotten their minds around. They had never intended to be in $1 million tax bracket. That's affecting their mortgages, which is affecting everything that they do when they have to pay the increase in taxes in such large volumes. I'm asking that instead of doing what we've always done, which for the past 3 years, the 18.69, that we look at a way to do a slight rollback to give the taxpayers some relief, hold these budgets for next year, and then the new administration can look at how they want to increase or decrease. But what the people are saying is that they're not saying that we're not doing a good job. They just want to get their budgets around the increased values that they're having to deal with. They can't go to the bread company and say, can you reduce the value of the amount of bread that I'm paying for? They can't go to the gas station, but they can't ask us, the people that they elect to look out for them, if there's any way that we can look at what we're trying to do and give them some kind of relief. Now, what I will say in response to the 18 parcels sold at forfeiture, what I do know is that that's one of the lowest that we've had in this county in years. And the other part of is that the tax commissioner works with any citizen to put them on some kind of payment plan so that they can work out their taxes. But that's not what the people are saying. What the people are saying is that they would like for us to do anything that we can do to kind of relieve this exorbitant values that they're experiencing on their tax bills. And so I'm asking that we look at something. We can't do a complete rollback. I understand that. But what we can do is look at this millage rate and see if there's something that we can do.
Commissioner Williams?
So, one of the things that I have heard too is that people are saying that their taxes are going to go way up when they start paying for the judicial complex. Actually, the 18.69 incorporates the cost of the new complex. We've been paying for that for 3 years now. That's nothing new. Taxes will not go up because of that complex. It's already in the budget. It's interesting because it's the same thing happening everywhere. I talked to a friend from Douglas County, and she was telling me how much her taxes had gone up. She was paying $3,000 in property taxes. Now you got to realize Douglas County does not have the host exemption. So, that would have been significantly reduced if that home were in Rockdale County. But I'm hearing the same thing from my sister in Washington State to my sister-in-law in Florida. It's a nationwide, and Mr. Kelichek brought out some national issues that we don't have a whole lot of control over. Like Commissioner Washington said, the only thing we have control over is what we're doing here in Rockdale County. So I personally will be looking very closely at the budget and what millage rate will be needed to carry on the work that we are doing. I think every year we have always looked for ways to cut while not impacting services. I do think it's important to remember that the taxes are lower than they were in 2013. They're lower than when I took office in 2015 and when the other two took office in 2017. The millage rate is significantly lower than it was. And, you know, the inflation of home prices, we know that began excessively during the COVID pandemic, as people were looking to move and change their lifestyle, and homes became valued. People wanted to move and want new things. The other thing I think to think about with housing is that there isn't enough housing. Mm-hmm. And so that also creates a problem, that whole issue of supply and demand. I don't think we're going to see house prices go down unless there's some kind of crisis like we had in 2008. But they could stabilize if there is enough development that people are not having to ask, you know, if they can purchase something that's not over the asking price, if there's some room to negotiate. The one last thing I want to say is that sometimes there is a misconception that people who rent are not paying taxes. That is absolutely not true. The landlord who owns that property has no homestead exemption, has no host exemption. Rental properties actually bring in more tax dollars for the county than homeowner, whatever.
Occupied.
Yes. But those landlords make up that difference in the cost by the rent that they charge. So it's those homes are paying more taxes, and the people who are the renters are paying those taxes too. Those are my comments.
All right, thank you, commissioners. And I think this brings the board comment to a close, and that wraps up our first edition of our millage rate hearing.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and after the conclusion and adjournment of this meeting, we will roll into the work session, voting session.
So thank you so much, Executive Director Rutledge. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our very first 2024 millage rate hearing. We will call this meeting to adjournment, and we will quickly transition right into our regular scheduled BOC meeting this morning. So this meeting is adjourned as relate to the millage rate this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we take a moment to transition? We have people over in the
Yes.
overflow that are coming over for the meeting this morning. So,
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we'll give